You look at this and you see one dimension. It's just a plane. It's obviously one dimension. Now, this one dimension is existing within multiple dimensions beyond it. Now, I'm not keen on speaking on any dimensions other than the first four, because beyond the first four, they're only hypothetical and they only exist within math. But there are four dimensions that are physically observable. You say the first one is this, and then the second one would be this, and the third one would be the one that we're existing in, that the first two exist in. But obviously, if there's a third one, then there's a fourth one. Like, it's easy for a human to conceptualize a dimension beyond the one that they exist in, where something inhabits, or where we inhabit, where the third dimension is inside of that. I don't know. It's hard to explain until I take this flat, and I meticulously tear it to create this. Aha. You see, this is the same exact thing. It's literally one plane that was torn to become this long. Now, this became that, and there you could clearly observe one dimension become multiple. Now, I'm just sitting here pondering the physics of the world. I've been watching a lot of random physicists on YouTube, a lot of podcasts, just talking, trying to learn. You see, there's a difference in innocently liking science and using science to get your political agenda across. That's something I heard recently on a podcast, but that's something that I feel like everyone thinks. What do you people think of the attack on science that's going on? I feel as if biology demands that there are two genders. Our linguistics demand that there are two genders. That's not to say that you can't go from one gender to the other. It just means that you only exist within the two. I mean, that's what biology says. There's characteristics that make one distinct from the other. It's clearly observable without even having to Google. Just go outside. You're claiming that you are a bird person, and I'm like, okay, you can say you're a bird person. I don't care. You're using this as a way to escape modernity, something like that. Sure, do whatever you want. But then she goes on to say that the type of birds they are robins and jays. And that's when I'm just like, okay, you're just an ignorant idiot. Because that's the worst type of, honestly, it's like one of the worst type of species to say, like, that's what you are so that you can escape from gender norms. Like, literally, like, birds are the most obvious, one of the most obvious, like, where you can distinguish between male and female without even having to look at their genitals. Overall, in most bird species, males are more bright colored, and they have, like, bigger features. So, like, a rooster, you can't mistake a rooster for a hen. It's literally impossible unless they're just really young. But that's literally because they haven't sexually matured. Like the little, like, a chick isn't going to be laying eggs. And honestly, laying eggs, that's something that a hen does. Like, that's beyond that. Back to the Blue Jays and the Robins. Literally, it's so easy to tell which one is a female. Like, the females are the most dim, like, drab looking creatures in the world in comparison to the males. Like, the males, they're so fucking, like, bright, and, like, it's just, you can easily distinguish between a male and a female. Like, literally, a blue jay and a robin, like, their colors are so, like, bright and popping. And you can just tell, you're like, okay, that's definitely the male, and this is definitely the female. It's not about identity. It's literally about biology. I don't understand where we stopped considering reality as like something that isn't based on your opinion. I don't think your identity is something that I can decide for you. You identify as whatever you want to identify as, but you cannot say that you are not undergoing an operation literally to change your gender. Like, you yourself would be acknowledging that you are in delusion if you go to get something that's going to convert you. You have to understand that trans, okay, let's just do it like this: transparent, transcontinental, trans it, transgender. Do you understand what trans means now? From one to the other. There's two things, and you're going from one to the other. If you are going from one to the other, that implies that you are one before you are the other. Now you are a male saying you want to identify as a female. We respect you and we allow you to undergo a surgery that will now make you present as a feminine human. Now do you understand? You underwent a surgery that took your parts and made them into the parts that you desire. They went from one to the other. It's based on biology. There's nothing you can do to separate it. It doesn't make sense. Those of us that exist in reality, and when we hear that kid say he wants to be a firefighter, we don't let him go try to run in burning buildings and save little animals and children. We don't say, oh sure. I mean, honestly, at one point they did, and then you guys literally told them, no, you can't go get a job. Like, there's just old pictures of little kids in, like, coal mines. Honestly, there's still children being forced to work in factories all over the world. So I guess it's bigger than just the past. Yeah. Honestly, I hope you understand now. Let's stop talking about the transgender stuff though. Okay, so we obviously understand what the first, second, and third dimensions are. I don't think I have to explain why. Oh, like, there's so many times that you could just have easily looked it up. We're beyond that. We aren't little children. But let's talk about the proof of the fourth dimension. Now, when you think about the concept of a god, I'm not trying to say that we're confirming God's existence or not. Like, that's not what this is about. But a dimension beyond the one that we exist in the sense that there's, like, this sense of, like, a beyond or infinity. And honestly, it's not that it's a feeling it's literally a thing, and that's why you're feeling it. You know what I mean? And so, what I'm trying to say is, that's kind of concrete enough evidence for you to assume that there's a fourth dimension. And beyond that, if we're actually taking space into reality, let me ask you a question. Earth is a circle. Right? Earth is round. We're floating in space. Okay. Now we are a rock floating in space. Now look at the direction of the sun. If you were to magically just start floating off of the earth, can you tell me in which direction you would be floating? Would you be floating up, or would you be floating down? And are you floating towards the sun, or are you floating away from the sun? The sun is at the center of our solar system. But you understand what I'm trying to say now, right? Like our solar system is just a tiny little speck in the grand scheme. And we can understand that. And that's kind of what like the fourth dimension is like. But beyond the fourth dimension, I'm pretty sure that there's no way for me to physically represent any other dimensions. If you have a way to conceptualize the fifth dimension without math, then please tell me how.